realizing that we have an important role now in this century. Mm-hmm. We have, our voices are important, and for what I see, what it does is empowers women's voices to, it's almost like a training ground. We practice. And a lot of people are scared to talk in public, or scared to share what they're feeling in a group because maybe it's not going to be accepted. And what I have found is it's strengthened, like many people have been in the conference committee, and I've seen them grow through the years. Mm-hmm. And even my own voice, it's strengthened our voices, that when you practice in a safe place, because what we created was a safe vessel for voices to be heard. And when you're allowed to practice that and speak up and feel heard, mm-hmm. you feel stronger in going out in the general public, or out in your work, or your family, or other places that you are speaking at, or mm-hmm. want to speak and you've been scared to before. It strengthens you. You're able to I know my voice has changed. Mm-hmm. I don't censor it so much anymore. I'm sure I go through might be some places where I go, I don't feel like I want to share this here. Uh-huh. But generally, I definitely don't censor as much, where I'm worried about what are people going to think. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of women do that. We kind of hide, mm-hmm. And we're scared it's not going to be accepted. I'm talking a lot about how generally in our society, the women, feminine spirituality, women are not honored and respected as mm-hmm. much as we should be. We're not in total partnership with men in the world, in politics, and in corporations. And if you look at how many, the statistics tell us. I remember hearing statistics in Washington State where, the majority of women own businesses, and they hire more people, and they bring in more money, and yet 3% are CEOs of corporations. Right. Statistics like that show us that we're still not there yet in equal partnership. And yes. So strengthening our voices, being together, and feeling that support from other women, I think is very important.
Yeah. The divine feminine. What is that to you?
It's a big umbrella. It's hard to, I find it hard to define, but I think of the feminine. I don't think of it as a gender thing. I think we all have it. We have the feminine and the masculine, and the feminine to me is you might speak in terms of like yin, the yin energy. It's the internal. It's our intuitive. It's the inside voice. It's getting in touch with our intuition. It's receptivity. It's creativity. The feminine is the creators. We give birth, and so there's a lot of that. There's nurturing. We're the mothers. We're nurturing. It's all those elements of what make up a woman is the divine feminine. Yeah. And yet those aspects are within men too. And we're trying to find a balance. And it's like the balance of the yin and the yang. That the yin is the receptive, where we're kind of gathering information, and the yang is going into action. And we need both. Right,
yeah. And to have this type of women's gathering specifically then provides a safe space for this creative aspect of every one of us to come out. What does that do for each person or each participant's spirituality, you think?
Well, I think it deepens it. I think when you go inside and start looking at what is your passion, what do you want to do in your life, how can you get there, I think it deepens it. You get more in touch with who you are, what you want to do, what's your purpose. I think we're all in this place of, especially when you get to a certain age, like in your 30s, you start exploring that. In your 20s, you kind of live in life, although I think there's some very wise 20-year-olds around now these days, and we're seeing younger people come to the conference more and more. But, you're looking at what is your purpose? I want to have a fulfilling life. I want to have work that means something to me, not just a job that gives me a paycheck. And I think women are particularly, and men too, are looking for that.
Tell us some stories of women who have grown around you, because I notice, part of this cauldron that you've been brewing is really mentoring many women. So tell us some stories of those where you've seen how they've grown up spiritually along this path.
Well, there's many examples, and some of the things that have happened is that a choir was birthed out of Woman of Wisdom. We started doing some performances, and that grew into a choir, Sacred Fire Choir. And the woman who took on the very first year, one of our board members brought a performance called Goddess Chant from a friend of hers who wrote it. She's from the East Coast, and she needed a choir director. And Pamela Gerke came and became the choir director, and from that came more performances, which led into developing the Sacred Fire Choir, which still exists today. And they generally every year perform something at Women of Wisdom. Also, one of our previous committee members and board members, Reverend Judith Laxer, created Gaia's Temple. And I'm not saying it came out of Women of Wisdom, but many people from Women of Wisdom have participated in it. It's a place where people, men and women, go, and it's bringing that balance of the feminine. So that it's more of a earth spirituality, more of a allowing the goddess in, the feminine aspects, and having a different kind of service than the normal. A lot of people are looking for something different than the traditional churches because they aren't seeing the feminine voice part of it, and so this is just a balance of that. So, like I said, she's been a presenter at Women of Wisdom, and through many years developing workshops and her own personal work, and developed Gaia's Temple. Personally, many people they've changed their jobs, they've changed their names, they maybe left abusive relationships, or they're just exploring who they are, and I've seen many people make wise decisions of a job change, a career change, going back to school, studying something new. Right. There's a lot of that happens.
Yeah. What about for yourself? Having been in Unity and as a minister, how do you feel these last 18 years have just fueled you in terms of your own spiritual path?
Well, a lot. I mean, I think, you teach what you have to learn. And I'm just want to clarify, I'm not a minister of Unity Church. I'm a minister in my own spiritual path. And, this was all new to me when I started. In 1993, I really knew nothing of the divine feminine and feminine spirituality. I know I was looking for something. And I took the mission. I had stated the mission that I got from years before. I think it was 1988 that I made when I started going to Unity and went to a workshop where we were supposed to write, what is your mission or what's your purpose in life, and I wrote to bring people together. And I don't know where it came from because I can't think back that far of what I had done that I got that information,
right,
and where it came from. I don't think I hadn't already done that retreat. I might have been part of some well, it's hard to say. I can't remember exactly where it came from, but that came in my mind. I knew this is what I wanted to do. But I kind of did it in a very yin way. I didn't go out then to try to figure it out. Like, oh, what am I supposed to do to get people together? My mission is to bring people together. And, it was curiosity, more like, oh, well, that's interesting. Where did that come from? I wonder what I'm going to do with that. And then another workshop, I was at the not Seattle, it was in our regional, Unity regional retreat at Crystal Mountain. And Dane Perry, who's a very wise man, he passed away several years ago, but he did a workshop where you were blindfolded in a room with like 500 people. It was full of chairs and people, and you're blindfolded, you're supposed to just wander around. And it was pretty crowded, so you're just bumping into people. And then he said, choose a partner. And I got this very tall guy. And he said, now state to the person this is what I remember, what your purpose or mission is. So it was again that, and I stated, to bring people together. And then the other person was to repeat that back to you, as if you're already doing it. That's what I recall. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember. And when he stated that, it was as if God was speaking. It was, this voice came in, it was just like, he said, separate, you don't need to take your blindfolds off to see who this person is. And I sat down, I didn't move for 10 minutes. I was like, wow, there's something behind this, And I was just astonished. And I think because I was blindfolded, I didn't censor who was telling me that. I didn't. It really was like a divine voice. It wasn't a person saying it. Because if I had seen that person, I would have seen.
Right.
Well, he doesn't know me. How could he say that about me? I didn't censor it. It was just like, well, there's something here. And that was, I forget what year that was, but it was still years before I had the idea of doing the conference.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so that was a very powerful moment when you actually heard it as, a divine voice telling you that you've already done it. So
you are doing it.
Yeah.
This is what you're doing. And so that was quite amazing. And then when I had the idea, I actually was in a healing group, and a woman told me 2 weeks in a row, you need to be an advocate for women. And I didn't know what she was talking about. I just thought, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I had already read the book Feminine Face of God, and it was 2 weeks later when it was just, like I said, it was a clear moment. It was like a divine voice coming in, a divine message coming in and saying, oh, you need to do this conference for women.
Right.
you know. And it was 2 weeks later, I'm kind of slow, 2 weeks later that I realized, oh, that's what she was seeing in me. So she was seeing it like in my etherics around my body. It was hovering around, waiting to come in when I was ready for it.
Wow.